So we're starting the day off having a welcome breakfast before we can explore the fair. If you're wondering where I am right now, this is actually Frieze, New York, which normally takes place in a giant tent on Randall's Island, but instead this year it's at the Shed, so it's definitely a different look and feel. Let me know what you think of it. The fair takes place over 4 different spaces within the Shed. The room where we're starting is floor 8, and then gallery booths spread over floors 2, 4, and 6. And you can get to each of these by these massive escalators. So I wanted to give you all an idea of what the booths look like. It's definitely a cozier feel to the fair, but I think it really works given they're only letting a limited number of people in at any given time. I'm going to try to give you snapshots of some of my favorite booths, some of my favorite artists, and this isn't my best filming that I normally do, but I was trying to respect people's privacy as much as possible, so hopefully you can still enjoy it. And I will link any artist or gallery I mentioned down below, so just keep an eye out for the timestamp and it'll all be down there. So let's start with Galerie Nara Roesler's booth. This booth features works by 3 Brazilian artists, and I think out of all of them, my favorites were the works by Cristina Canale. And this is Grimm Gallery's booth. Grimm has locations in Amsterdam and New York. I've actually taken you to their brand new Tribeca location. And my favorite work in this booth is by the artist Tjebbe Beekman, who is a Dutch artist. And honestly, I wish they had more than just one of his work, but the detail and the color here, it's really beautiful. Next to it is Downes and Ross's booth. This is another gallery that I've taken you all to in New York, and some of my favorites from this booth were by the female artists, Ivy Haldeman, who we saw in the first painting, and then this painting by Rute Merk. I love this extra large painting by Ivy Haldeman, and it just reminds me I need to go check out her new show that just opened over at Downes and Ross. Here's a close-up of a work at Nicelle Beauchene's booth. This is by the artist Ruby Sky Stiler, and another one that just has really incredible detail and texture and color. This was another favorite. I kind of call it like an all-over booth because I love everything about their booth. This is Marinaro Gallery's booth, and it features works by Ridley Howard and Johannes van der Beek. And Johannes creates these incredible sculptures, and Ridley Howard is responsible for these really dreamlike portraits that set behind the sculptures. Here's the view that lets you really appreciate the new space and the architecture of the shed. Marion Goodman Gallery really got the best spot, like front and center here. They feature a solo booth by the artist Annette Messenger. And I love, honestly, that Marion Goodman kind of shakes it up with their booth. They kind of went for some edgier art. I feel like a lot of the galleries played it a little safe. Maybe they were unsure that the fair would, even happen or not. But Annette is a French visual artist who has some pretty impressive accolades in her career. In 2005, she won the Golden Lion Award at the Venice Biennial. So yeah, very talented, well-renowned artist, but very edgy, kind of gives me a little bit of like Kiki Smith vibes in a way. Lehman Maupin Gallery featured some really great works. This large one by Gilbert and George, you cannot miss it. And they also feature, I knew they were going to feature paintings by Hernan, but the fact that he created these paintings that are room separators was really interesting, very cool. And up here on the right, you start to see Hauser and Wirth's booth. This is a painting by Günter Forg. And inside, they have this gorgeous work by Henry Taylor. And then this one took the cake for me, this really stunning blue work by Rashid Johnson, which honestly 2 people asked me about when I was standing there. Of course, it was already sold. And then on the other side of the booth is a George Condo and a sculpture by Paul McCarthy. I mean, can it even be a Hauser and Wirth booth if there is not a George Condo? David Zwirner had a solo booth, which was actually a common theme in this area. A lot of solo booths or booths featuring 2 artists, but Zwirner had a solo booth devoted to sculptures and paintings by Dana Schutz, who the Galerie announced that they were representing in the fall of 2020. Galerie Perrotin was not hard to miss with this giant Daniel Arsham sculpture at the entrance to their booth. Always fun to see one of these up close. Here is a solo booth. James Cohen features exclusively the artist Trenton Doyle Hancock. And if you're wondering what these works are about or what they're referencing, Trenton is quoted as saying, "Recently, in my comics and paintings, I've used the Klansman to represent America's contract with white supremacy, especially how that contract is negotiated with Black Americans. I've paired the volatile Klansman symbol with my own Black superhero, Torpedo Boy, in order to highlight the exchange or dialogue that Black Americans are forced into daily." And across from James Cohen's booth is Gagosian's booth, which features 2 female artists, Juszkiewicz and Rachel Feinstein. Rachel Feinstein does the sculptures in front of the paintings, and Juszkiewicz does the paintings behind. And I will say this was definitely a fan favorite. I mentioned it in my Instagram as it being one of my favorites, but so many others that attended the fair definitely said that this was a favorite of theirs as well. So I didn't film much in Michael Werner's booth, but I did want to call out this artist. This is Florian Kruer, and he's a young German artist that creates these really fantastic dark paintings. So I was super happy to see that they had brought one and kind of graced the outside of their booth with it. I know I keep saying that these are my favorites, but this is another favorite of mine. I mean, I'm only filming really my favorites, frankly. So this is a solo booth by Stephen Friedman Gallery, which is a London-based gallery, and they feature these really mesmerizing portraits by the British artist Sarah Ball. And in these portraits, she's examining themes of gender and identity. So what I think is really cool is that they utilize these really large hallway spaces for art as well. So they're showing off works here by the likes of Hank Willis Thomas and many others. And now we're going to head over to Frame, which is the part of Frieze where there are booths of works by emerging artists that create really museum quality works. And this is a super creative booth by Barrow Gallery, and it features an exhibit by Augustina Woodgate. And I really encourage you to read more on the website because it goes into more detail about the genius of this work. But essentially you can purchase artworks through this ATM and the gallery will certify them for you. And it's all a commentary on sort of how the art world operates, and it's very cheeky. Love this booth. This was an artist that I had never heard of before, and I thought these works were just really beautiful, very well priced. They average between $7,000 to $8,000, and this is Chateau's booth featuring Zainab Saleh. And yeah, I just was really drawn to these. And in the final booth of the day, I'm going to show you some works by Karen Davis. I actually shared her exhibit with you all a while ago at Jeffrey Deitch, so I was really excited to see these works up close and in person again at Wilding Cran Gallery's booth. So the online portion of Frieze will actually be up and open until May 14th. So you can go to any of the links that I've listed above or below actually, and some of these works are still available for purchase. So if you're interested in buying, if you couldn't make it to the fair, or honestly if you just want to read more details about the galleries and the artists that I've mentioned here, feel free to check out those links. If the links are no longer working, if it's after the 14th, I will try to go back and update these to just point to the galleries and artists. But I hope you enjoyed this tour, and I'm glad you guys could come along with me to the first in-person art fair in over a year. I mean, pretty crazy. But until then, I will see you guys next time.